Okay. It's my fault that I have given you so late
No
the
worries. Just one
slide.
second. Just one
Yeah.
second. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
And
great.
in fact, this
That's
is the
fine.
screen that I want. This is the slide that I wanted you to see. Now, can you see the numbers of booties uh, in the patha itself, in the main cloth itself? That is the numbers of tillis that one has in between. Can you see that, all of you? And on the border, there are, the tillis which are there with the zari, the green color, the yellow color, the red color, the peach color, and the zari again. Can you see how it moves at every change of color? There is a knot there. If you see the border properly, then you will see that there are what you call the knots on the side. And while weaving, these knots are the ones which hold the fabric together. And then they have the funny to pull it together. So this is how a paithani is woven. There is no contraption which normally in regular brocade weaving, there is a contraption on the top which will pick up the threads so that we can put the tilli underneath and either return it or take it forward. Whereas over here, the tilli does not go all the way on the other side unless it's a plain fabric. There are areas in Paithani that the fabric may be plain. Can we see the second slide, please? Yeah. Now, can you see the numbers of threads, numbers of colors which are there in this particular design? It's first it is the zari, and then the black thread is not the Paithani thing, and then there is a red and the green in the munia, and then there is a green of the bale, and then there is a blue or pink of the flower. Then again there is zari, again there is a green. So almost like there are designs which I have worked with where there are 300 knots per one weft calculation. So you can imagine how intricate it is, uh, and yet the sari balance has to be there. So that is how a paithani is woven. Can we stop the presentation just now? I mean the slides, please, so that I can communicate. Yeah. I hope you do we make this interactive? It will be easier for me to make sure that you understand this. But I hope you get what I'm trying to say. That it's
Belaji, this cannot be interactive, so please keep the flow going. Yeah, you can do a Q&A later. Yeah?
I'll do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. What happens in this situation is the weave itself is actually predetermined, and the design is underneath the actual weave so that they can follow the outline. But it's the skill of the weaver which defines the actual what you call the edges of the design and the knots, so that in the front it looks as if it's a smooth fabric. Now, nowadays, many designers have started using curvature. Now, when we look at the basic design principle, the horizontal is the strongest, the vertical is weaker, and the diagonal is the weakest. Now, when we do uh, 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 design which has lots of curvature in it, it is possible to weave. It's not a problem to weave, but to ensure the longevity and the not shifting of the fabric, that itself is difficult when you have curvature. So a lot of designers have brought the Banarasi designs to Python. And I think that is a disservice, because after 2 to 3 wears, it will be wobbly. One will not be able to wear that sari, because those diagonal or vertical knots will not be able to hold the fabric together. Hence, the tradition of Python being angular. If at all, the curvature in the umbis which are created, those umbis are actually made up of squares, or they introduced jacquard later on, or a dobby weave later on, way later on, that is as recent as 200 years. And at that time, one was able to create curvature along with the angular design of Pythani. What happens is, when it is angular, the locking system which is there in the weft works extremely well, and that itself is the crux of the Pythani weave technologically, and that is not duplicated even in the Western tapestry weave. In the Western tapestry weave, they just go around it, but they don't knot it. Whereas here, this is one unique weave where they knot it and then they turn around to the next weft. So it's a very unique system that they have, and it takes a reasonably skilled weaver to do a reasonably good pattern, but a very high skilled weaver to do a masterpiece. We have created one piece where it was almost 300 change of tillis in one weft. That was inspired from the Baroda Museum Pythani in Bangla More design. And that was so intricate that it took us almost 2 years to weave one Pythani. And such masterpieces need to be inspired now. Just now, what is happening is, in the race of making it cheaper and cheaper, the quality of Pythani is going down and down and even down today. Because I believe that they want to make it in tested zari. They want to make it in silk, which is not real silk. They want to use mercerized silk instead of khadi silk. They want to make it cheaper. But this particular weave uh, is too precious to making it cheaper. I think per piece earning of the karigar hence goes down even further when we try to make it cheaper. So my endeavor has always been to make it more expensive when it is handmade, and when it is labor intensive. It's a smarter idea to make sure that the karigar or the weaver earns much more than when the alternatives are used, so that the beauty and the richness of that particular weave remains as it is. If you see the patina of some of the earlier Paithani in the museum, when you see it, even today, it looks beautiful, and it has not, the cloth has not shifted. Whereas many of the Paithanis that I have seen, which is done in last 4 to 5 years, and it has already shifted. The cloth has shifted, and that should not happen. Technologically, it should not shift so much that it stops being Paithani. Say, for example, in Yaula, the borders are absolutely jacquard, dobby borders, and the pallu is supposed to be the Python style pallu, which I believe is fair, where the cheaper the Pythoni can be sold easily, and the karigar can earn faster. But when they introduce jacquard, and everything is done in jacquard, including the palla, then it stops being Paithani. It stops being what original Pratishthan fabric was. Coming back to Pratishthan, can you imagine Dutch and French traders waiting to 4 to 5 months just to get those materials to Mumra port and take it further down towards Japan, to the Southeast Asian markets? The reason why these routes got developed is because the pirates were able to sell the gold very, very fast. And they didn't even need to sell it. Whereas if they transferred the gold into cloth, the pirates didn't know how much it would cost. And also they didn't know how to sell this and to which market to sell. Hence, this got popular because the markets were ready to lap it up. And while going back also, they took some of these fabrics to the royal courts of European countries, where the fashion originated for them. And India dictated those that fashion industry at that time. And unfortunately today, I have to say this, that we have lost that control. When I did the project with MSIDC, with women of MSIDC, and when I was training them, I started training them with the basics. Just as in classical music, you have 7 notes, Sare, Gama, Pada, Nisa. In weaving, you have shapes, different kinds of shapes. And I just took one basic shape of squares, and we just created I just taught them how to create squares in different sizes, and I sold it to one of the Italian designers to make bags, and it was such a hit. They almost ordered 400 meters of Pythoni technique simplified, and the beginners could make it and could earn sufficient amount from that. I've also created a sari for myself in that particular shape. I wear it many a times for the webinars on Python and many other webinars, but I do feel that such innovations are today necessary to ensure that the labor decreases and yet the karigar earns more. And he is interested then to stay back to work on this. The Yaula has developed quite a lot, but in Pratishthan, the numbers are going down. And we do need to bring up the numbers in Pratishthan. That's what I believe. The weavers are not conscious enough to create a good quality Pythoni. They're just interested in making sure that their goods sell. And that awareness is very necessary for the weaver, for him to survive quite a lot, for a long time. And I do believe that that is one of the major concerns that we need to work with, the quality control. Also, the quality of dyes that are being used today in general market, they are naphthol dyes, whereas I would like to introduce in most of my weavers work, all of my weavers use azo-free dye, which will retain itself for a longer time, and it's eco-friendlier than the naphthol dye. So we are shifting, but not everyone in Python has shifted to uh, azo-free dyes, and that is very, very necessary. Also, I believe that the texture of Python is going through a lot of change, and that needs to, uh, that is, some of it is welcome, but I do believe that the quality of khadi needs to be introduced back into Python, because there are many women over in Python and in Yeola who can spin khadi, and we can introduce this particular skill set again, which is very easily possible for them to spin. Anyway, they are helping the weavers, winding the spindle, warping, and things of that kind. So along with that, if we introduce spinning over there is a huge potential of them earning a much better per piece earning for them. Also, I do believe that we need to shift from making it cheaper. We need to resist this. We also need to resist making it, uh, you know, very foreign. The angularism of Python is a very, very uh, inherent characteristic of Python. Otherwise, the quality and the longevity will suffer. And we need to be careful about this, that curvature up to a point is okay, but curvature beyond a particular point, or without being conscious of stopping there and then continue. If we don't do that, I think a lot of consumers are going to get disenchanted and will stop buying, like how it happened about 10 years back. And that Pythony was not something which was respected because of the quality. And we need to be very, very careful that we have brought it up to this level, but we need to really bring it up to a different level where the consumer trusts us with the best quality possible in terms of uh, longevity, in terms of look, in terms of uh, uh, color fastness, in terms of quality of zari, in terms of actual weaving. A lot needs to change. A lot needs to change even today. But I guess when the Maharashtra Council, Handloom Council, will be working on that, they will change all this and make sure that a much better quality paichari comes out of it. The finer weave, like the one which is done for the creative, the background of the creative. It's so amazing that the size of uh, the warp, the discontinuous warp that is there, that nazakat is getting lost. Also, I would recommend that we work on Peshwai Chanderi. And the Peshwai Chanderis will have a different yarn, different way of being. And also, I believe that we need to shift from this bold, loud. Loudness is part of Python character, but I still feel that nazakat is something which we need to bring it back. And I do feel that When women are part of it, they will be able to do this, and they are sensitized enough, at least in Python, that they will be able to take it forward. I would like to make sure that we revive the export of Pythani so that it can support not only the weaver, but also the whole industry needs to be supported. It's sad when we are just talking about the weavers, but the weavers are getting supported by the middleman is getting supported by his distributor, and that is how an industry happens. Whereas when we say that the weaver has to sell himself, he has to create himself, he has to source the raw material himself, he has to uh, he has to pay his GST himself, he has to do so many things, and it's physically impossible for one person to do that. And I do believe that the industry needs to develop in terms of uh, actual work, because what happens is uh, when I often give this example that when I go to buy locks, I don't go to Adi Godrej's house and knock on his door and have breakfast or tea with him and buy a lock from him. I go to the local distributor, and the local distributor shows 10 locks done by Godrej, and I choose from that. The distributor gets the locks from the wholesaler, and then the wholesaler gets it from, I'm just shortening that chain, gets it from the Godrej. There is a manufacturing department, there is a design department, there is an accounts department, there is a marketing department, there is a sales department. Whereas when it comes to the weaver or when it comes to the handcrafted textile person, uh, everything is expected that the weaver does everything. I do believe that that needs to shift. And even though it may be the website people are selling their goods, no problem, they become middlemen. But we need to make sure that the middleman is there and middleman is well supported and made conscious of his responsibility. Whether it is a website or an individual or whether it's a group of individuals, they still have to be careful about how the weaver needs to be treated. The weaver cannot know the markets himself. So through these middlemen, the weaver comes to know about the market and what is selling in the market. So the marketing also has to be done by somebody else, right? So this whole thing about middleman has to go, I feel that's a short-sighted vision. When you have that is the reason why many of our technologies are dwindling, because now the weaver doesn't know how to sell and where to sell. And he cannot go to Nita Ambani directly and understand what Nita Ambani wants, and he can't create that. So I do believe we need to have people who are responsible. It may be group of people like Maharashtra Handloom Council or like many other NGOs who are doing very good work outside. It may not be an individual. It may not, if, and I don't think why should there not be an individual, but even if that is not accepted, then a group of people need to be introduced. But the weaver cannot be left without any support and expect to survive and expect the technology to survive. That is my small little submission that I have. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer these questions.
Leelaji, that was wonderful. We'll start the
Thank you.
question answer session now. And I think
Okay.
everybody has one common question which I will ask you now. It is that how does one differentiate between a power loom pythony and a handloom pythony? A very basic question for a buyer.
So very
You know,
see, when it is a power loom Pythani, they require require jacquard system to pick up the threads, because on power loom they will not be able to do tilly work. That especially in Python, in it they have Dobby or jacquard weave and no Pythony weaving. Then you understand that it's a power loom. Also in power loom, if you notice the side or the side borders, two borders that they have, they will be wobbly because the inside part is not balanced with the borders, the extra borders, extra work borders that they have. So the minute the borders are wobbling, you know for sure that this is a Pythony which is made on power loom, and then maybe stopping it and creating the palla, which is in Pythony technology, because the Pythony technology cannot be done by power loom at all, because the tilly has to go around and the knotting has to happen.
So Belaji, I'll just quickly step in here, just to continue what you're saying. When you say the knots are not possible, so is it a good idea to actually check the reverse of the sari? You know, when we're talking laypersons, not many actually understand what a wobbly border is. You know that, yeah. So would it be a fair thing to say that when you look at, is there any indication on the reverse of the sari? That's an instant giveaway that this is a power loom, or you know, there are high chances of this not being hand woven for a lay person.
There is a term called Banarasi Pythani. Now those Pythanis are absolutely power loom Pythani, and you, as you are pointing it right, that there are no knots in the background, and also the borders are very straight borders. So when one does that handwork, it is supposed to be slightly wobbly, but not too wobbly. Whereas when we do the border, which is in Python technique, it is supposed to be. Can you see? This is not a Python technique. I'm sorry, I'm not wearing a Pythony. But can you see there is no wobbliness in this border?
Okay.
It is smooth transition.
It's smooth. Okay, so that's what I was looking for when you meant wobbly. For an absolute layperson, what would that mean is where I was getting at. Yeah.
I am with you. Can you now this kind of smoothness? The minute it is there, then you know that it is a totally out and out power loom Python.
Power loom. Okay.
And if it is too wobbly, then also you know that it's a power loom Python.
Power loom. Okay.
Because there is a tension which is happening for the wrong reason. And the weaver doesn't know how to rectify that. And that is why it becomes wobbly.
Okay. So would there be an effect on the motifs? I mean, would the motifs in a hand-woven one look exactly the same on the front and reverse?
Motifs can be, see, in jacquard, you can do whichever motif that you want. Whereas
so that's true, but I'm talking of, is there a difference in how they look on the reverse in a power loom and a hand woven?
Yes. But when it is hand loom, that even on the front side, there is a slight amount of roughness, which gives that patina to the Pythani. At the back of the Pythani, obviously one should be able to feel the knot when you touch it.
Okay.
When you feel, you can see the knots also. It's not that the knots are invisible, but in Banarasi Pythani, there are no knots.
Okay.
Because it's a jacquard weave, it just goes back.
It's a very smooth,
It's a very smooth and unnaturally smooth Pythani.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. But basically, it's a question of when you have the angular motifs, the tension is even. So what happens is it doesn't become wobbly and it gets locked properly. Whereas when you have a smoother and curvature called in the design. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. When you have a curvature in the design, what happens is if you pull from one angle or any other angle, it will shift and it will become wobbly. It's a basic design principle. I'm not saying something unusual, but most of the designers today don't understand the behavior of the yarn and how the fabric is supposed to fall. The fabric is supposed to fall so smooth that there is no tension created. Even when little bit of stretching happens in the sari, even when that happens, the fabric should not shift. Does it make sense?
No,
Yes.
it actually does to me, but I was just trying to, think about it from a layperson's perspective
No,
that,
totally,
the,
totally
yeah,
understand. Thank you. And thank you for helping me specify because you know my
yeah.
problems. Thank you.
No, it's also, I think, while we talk Patni and you did talk about it being loud, and the nazakat has gone. I think that is something that we find a lot of customers saying that, the colors probably. So, do you know of any experiments in pattern currently? Do you see a possibility of natural dyes in pattern?
I don't believe that the natural dyes is the answer. This is my personal view. Because, for natural dyes, if you take the birth to grave approach
Mm,
of the natural dyes, you have to clear the ground to cultivate the natural dyes.
mm,
So that itself is not too eco-friendly. But with azo-free dyes, I believe, this is my
mm,
totally again my personal view, with
mm.
azo-free dyes, it becomes eco-friendly, sustainable, and yet friendly for the skin. So I do believe that that is necessary rather than natural dyes because of uh, uh, the impact. Most of the people don't recognize this, but the impact on the earth is much more uh, in negative. The carbon footprint, in fact, increases with natural dye. And that is something which we need to be very conscious of.
Belaji, Sakina Ansari has a question. She
Please.
wants to know, um, is it true that the Paithani comes only in a few colors and not like a power loom where many colors are available?
No, no. See, color is a dyeing issue. Dyeing can be done in whichever color. In azo-free dyes, any color is possible. But most of the traditional customers of Python prefer uh, louder color. They prefer, that's the traditional market which is already existing.
Okay,
So
so you would refer to the jewel tones,
yes,
with
yes,
yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes, yeah. That
Bela,
is part and parcel of Python itself.
Huh.
Now we have to adopt it to today. Now, if we have to adopt it to today, we need different sensibility. And that is
Okay,
what we have been continuously working. Even the design which you saw was
yeah.
done by one of the designers who is very conscious of the nazakat.
Belaji, Saili Palande has a question.
Yes.
She says, could you throw some light on traditional process of designing for Pattani? How much of it survives now? And Mrudula Bele is asking, what about the cotton Pattani? So perhaps you could take these two.
Sure. Uh, uh, shall I take it first for the
Yeah,
cotton so that half of
y-
it can
yeah,
be?
sure, sure.
See, cotton Paishni is a fantastic revival. I must say that. And with cotton Paishni, if it is done with khadi, the slippages or the wobbliness can be avoided. But if we are to use the smooth yarn, which is the mercerized yarn, I don't think it's a smart idea. After maybe 10 wear, it is going to get wobbly because the knots will not be able to sustain the wear and tear for a long time. So I do believe that we need to use the khadi yarn or a non-mercerized yarn in that process.
Hmm. Okay.
But khadi has a huge potential with Paithani, and it's
Oh,
a perfect yarn. See, earlier when the natural dyes were there and only uh, the hand spun yarns were there, those Paithanis are surviving much better than today's Paithani because of the technology used.
hmm.
And we need to bring back that technology because it
Okay.
is sustainable. It is something which is going to last for a long time, and also the skill sets used are sustained. For me, that is extremely important. That the
Uh,
skills today, what is happening is, chalo paithani weave kar dete hain. That's it. But they are not being conscious of the quality of paithani, especially in cotton.
hmm.
They are using absolutely mediocre mercerized yarn into uh, creating a paithani. And
So,
I do.
could you answer Siley's question in that
What is
case?
Silas' question? Please, can you
What is
repeat
the
that?
how much of the design language survives, and what are the processes of a design in a pattern?
In low cost Pythonis, the design language still survives. But in the higher cost Pythonis, unfortunately, the designers today, probably they might not understand the technology behind it. And that's why they've got Banaras design into the Pythoni design.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, that language has nothing to do with Python, traditional Python language. That has something to do with a Jacquard language. And the designer obviously doesn't understand that by bringing this into this field, he is doing or she is doing a major harm to the traditions of Python. There is a reason why a tradition gets developed into a particular tradition,
Hmm.
because it lasts for a longer time, because it sells better. I mean, there have been numbers of reasons. But in
Yeah.
Python,
Huh.
the angularism
Huh.
is absolutely the, and today the angularism is going away.
Okay.
And instead of that, the curvature is coming in.
Okay.
The curvature itself is not going to last for a long time. In fact, it is going to switch off the customers when it becomes wobbly.
And what is the Peshwai pattern? I mean, how
Peshwai
does
Python.
how does one actually identify it?
Peshwai Pythoni or Peshwai Chanderi, both I'm trying to revive. Give me about 2 years and it will be out in the market, because of the skill sets required are different than they do require the Pythoni skill sets, but the yarn which needs to be used needs to be different.
Is the
Also,
design different of
up
a
to a point.
traditional?
Yes,
Okay.
up to a point, because see, when you change the yarn, the fineness of jari, and also it should not cut with the metallic when it comes in touch with the zari, the yarn should not cut.
Okay.
So that aspect has to be dealt with in a very different manner. And I'm
So, what
trying
are
to.
the Peshwai patterns that we see in the market today?
There is no
What are
Peshwai
those?
Python in the market at all.
So, there is no
It's gone.
authentic Peshwai
No,
pattern.
even in the
Okay.
museum, I've just seen maybe 2 museums having it, and that also they are not displaying outside. It's part of their collection.
Okay.
So and it's basically Python itself, but done in a very different stylization. I'm not
Hmm.
talking about the stylization of the visual kind. I'm
Hmm.
talking about the stylization of the technology kind,
The structural kind.
the
Okay.
structural kind.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Vaibhavi had a question.
Yeah.
She says, was there a concept of using yardages, weaving yardages in Pathan at all, or was it always only, the saris?
They used to have saris and shalus.
Okay.
Vaibhavi will know
Yeah.
the shalus. But
Okay.
at the same time, I in one or two paintings, I have
Hmm.
seen the patkas and the dhoti made out of Paithani.
Okay.
But that is extremely rare.
Hmm.
And now, of course, the designers have introduced some menswear also in Python. So I
And
think that's a welcome
true,
addition. Yeah.
true. Is there any way one can see a Peshwai Paithani or vintage sample anywhere in the museums? Is
Yeah.
it there?
Calico Museum has it.
Has
Yeah, but they are not allowing to photograph.
yeah, Calico does not allow photography.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
That's the only
That's true.
problem. That otherwise I
Yeah.
would have loved to share that. And
But they don't
it's
allow
not that.
photography.
Yeah, it's not that, and that also they are not displaying this Paithani outside.
No, they
That
don't. They
is that.
don't. True,
Yeah,
true,
yeah.
true.
That is
Uh,
the only problem. Otherwise, I
so,
would have loved to show the Python. And
and
I'm
this
working
again
on
is a question from my side as someone who's part of the Maharashtra Handloom Council. What do you see the role of the council in, say, at least popularizing the traditional design language of the Paithani to the thing, vis-a-vis the Banarasi motifs that are coming in now? What is the role that we can play?
uh, first of all, awareness. That is the main thing that we have to spread the word around.
Mm.
And not buy the Pythanis which does not have the traditional Pythani language. Not to support weavers who are taking the shortcut of having the Banaras weave coming into the Python. It is better to have the authentic Pythani. And secondly, the weavers have to be told that no, this is not going to sell. So you better create something which is getting for you, create a market.
What are
The
the Benares motifs that are in use, just to differentiate between what the traditional designs were and what is the
they are using everything.
what
They
are the
have no
traditional
control.
patterny motifs?
Traditional, basically the poppet, the more, the angular, for those who are not wearing the animals, there is a bale,
Hmm.
Ashavali bale.
Hmm.
Then they have the what you call the lotus design, and
Hmm.
there are 5-6 different designs which I can put together.
Hmm.
I think once I reach Bombay, I can put it
Yeah.
together and share it with the group so
Yeah.
that we can use it does not mean that we cannot introduce new designs. I have
Yeah.
introduced many new
Hmm.
designs, but it has to be angular. It
Okay.
cannot be an angular in a particular way that it should not become wobbly
So,
when worn.
so it means primarily what the patterny involves is a lot of technical superiority and skill rather than merely the design language,
Exactly.
judging from the conversation.
Yes.
So, Belaji, may I request that if you're able to share with us, say, images of the traditional designs vis-a-vis the newer Banaras motifs, maybe we can actually start, because we on a Zoom we obviously run out of time and it's not always
Yes.
possible. Maybe when we make a post and we share as the council, we're actually able to explain to people who are reading that this is the traditional design language, and it's
True.
these are the newer ones, and it's more about the technical aspects of a pattern rather than just the design,
Yes. Yes.
because saris
And
aren't always about technique.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we make sure that the future generation becomes aware of it.
Yeah.
Not just today's. I mean, all of us need to be aware, but also tomorrow, this needs to be instilled in them so that this particular tradition can be perpetuated.
Yeah.
And not just stop at our generation. The
Yeah.
next generation, okay, I have created blouses made out of Pythani. So, but very contemporary language. And with Python, I can afford that language. But with Python, I can't afford a very curvy linear language at all. So we need to be very careful about what we are buying, which creates a market for the weaver. So we need to make sure that we become aware, and we make sure that our consumers also become aware. And as a council, we can create a market for them. We become middlemen, so that authenticity is not questioned. Just now, authenticity is questioned all the time.
Yeah.
And in that process, the sale doesn't happen.
Belaji, there's one final question from Janavi Premani. She says cost was the reason why handloom failed to bloom post independence. Won't
I don't
going
agree.
back mean that Paithani would be a luxury and we'll be again losing markets?
Okay.
Making.
First of all, I don't agree that the market got lost because of the cost. The market got lost because the market taste changed. And secondly, Paithani and certain royal textiles have always been part of the expensive textile. And because it is expensive, the weaver can afford to make sure that they sustain themselves. We have to recognize that per piece earning of, say for example, today, a regular Paithani in the wholesale market is costing 6,500. Now, when we take the 6,500 figure, the silk itself today is around 5,000 rupees a kilo, much more, but I'm just giving you the example of 5,000 rupees. So if it is 5,000 rupees, 700 grams of silk will go minimum in a regular Paithani. 8 to 900 grams of silk will go in a good quality thick Paithani. Now, then comes the cost of the zari, then comes the cost of mazduri. So how can 6,500 rupees Paithani be an authentic Paithani? Simple logic. Minimum 15,000 rupees for a simple Paithani, and 20
It's a
to
fair price.
25,000 is a fair price, so that the Karigar and his family can eat. Basically,
Sharmila
they have to
Narne
survive.
has a question. Sorry, because we're running out of time. She wants to know what your take is on clusters like Narayanpet and Gadwal weaving the Paithani.
No need. There is so much demand for Gadwal and Narayanpet that why do they have to go into something like this? There is, I mean, the markets for all these weaves are there. They just don't know. See, this is the problem when we say that middleman has to go. Then that is the problem, that the weaver doesn't know. So he will go wherever the middleman is going to take them. The available middleman.
Yeah.
So this is what is available just now for them. But there is enough market for everyone just now. So why, encroach upon another people's livelihood? I don't understand this.
Wow.
And we, as a council, what we can do is we can create markets for them so that they remain authentic in their work.
True. Varsha, would you like to take over, please? And to those who want to ask questions, you could please email us at mhcwiki@gmail.com. We'll be more than happy to revert with answers from Belaji. Varsha will deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you, Belaji. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Belaji.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much, Belaji. That was a really, really amazing presentation. You actually really took us on a visual journey into the past, to the port of Mumra and the city of Pratishthan. So that was really nice. And also for sharing your experience of working with the weavers on this rich textile tradition. On behalf of Maharashtra Handloom Council, President Savita Suri, Vice President Shaheen Desai, and all the members who are present here today, I would like to thank Sakina Ansari, President National Handloom Council, for being present today, and for all the viewers and listeners who have joined us for this first webinar of the Maharashtra Handloom Council. we hope to continue with many more informative and interesting webinars in future as well. So thank you all for being part of this webinar. I would close now. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.